Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, thank you very much for your invitation and for including me in this important event. Even though I cannot be with you in person today, I'm truly honored to share a few thoughts with you. I mean, it's a great deal to be a part of this conversation hosted by the European platform Rehab. A conversation that touches on the core of what an inclusive and just Europe must stand for. The right to participate, the right to belong, especially for aging adults with intellectual disabilities. Too often, aging people with intellectual disabilities are excluded twice. Once because of their disability and once because of their age. This double vulnerability is what the Participate project has rightly put the focus on, and I applaud the initiative for doing so. As a policymaker and a woman with a disability myself, I know how persistent the barriers are. And I also know how invisible these barriers become when they are not experienced by those in power. Aging people with intellectual disabilities face higher risk of poverty, social isolation, health inequalities, and institutionalization. In many EU countries, there is still a lack of community-based services, inclusive housing options, and adopted healthcare. Add to this the fact that their needs are often overlooked in both disability and aging policies, and we've been to see how just urgent it is. The situation really is. This is not just a policy gap. It is a failure of social justice. It is a failure of imagination. Social inclusion is more than a warm word in a strategy document. It means that all the people with intellectual disabilities are not just recipients of care, but active members in all communities. That they make choices about where they live, who they spend time with, what they do with their time, that they are visible, not hidden away in institutions or segregated settings, that they have access to inclusive education and training, not only when they are young, but throughout their lives, and that the people who support them, carers, staff, professionals, are trained to see the person, not just diagnosis. The Participate project, with its focus on training, awareness raising, and policy recommendations, offers concrete tools to help us achieve this. But tools are not enough. We also need political will. We need binding rights, and we need to confront the structural ableism and ageism that still shape our systems. The COVID-19 crisis showed us painfully what happens when we treat some lives as less vulnerable than others. Persons with disabilities, especially those in the institutions, were disproportionately affected. Many died without proper support, without family, and without dignity. We need to learn from these lessons and act. We said never again, but are we following up? Have we changed the system that we failed them? One of the lessons must be inclusion is not optional. It is not a bonus for good times. It is a human right and a question of resilience. Societies that are inclusive are stronger, fairer, and better prepared for crisis. Let us not wait for the next crisis to act. One major barrier to social inclusion is the lack of recognition, not only of diplomas and skills, as we see for many migrants who have the knowledge and ability to work in the healthcare sector, but also of lived experiences. We need legal frameworks that guarantee access to inclusive support, independent living and lifelong learning. The UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is clean on this, and the EU and its member states have ratified it. But there is a gap between the law and the lived reality. This is why I continue to call for stronger EU monitoring on how member states implemented the CRPD, concrete funding for inclusive housing, accessible health services, and community-based support, mandatory disability and aging competence training for all professionals who work in care, education, and public administration, and to shift away from institutionalization towards real inclusion, real choice, real community. Through my work in the Disability Intergroup and in the European Europe for All Ages interest group, I have seen how powerful it can be. We listen to the voices of people with lived experience. We have fought for more visibility of disability in the EU Care Strategy. We are pushing for the reform of the outdated system of sheltered workshops, and we are calling for the European Commission to finally unblock or give us an alternative to the Equal Treatment Directive, which would extend anti-discrimination protection beyond employment to healthcare, housing, education, and more. Because if we are serious about inclusion, we must also be serious about equality. Inclusion is not about charity. It's about my rights. It is about recognizing the diversity of human life and building systems that adapt to people, not the other way around. Aging with dignity, with support, and with a sense of community should not be a luxury. It should be a standard. And when we include those who are most often excluded, we create a future that works better for everyone. Let us keep working across sectors, across borders, and across generations to make the future a reality. Thank you.